Hello and welcome to the Low Content Publishing for Beginners video series. My name is Rachel Harrison Sund, and behind me is my lazy dog Keiko. And she's probably just going to lay there the entire time, not moving. So after the 5 profitable low content book ideas to try posts I did a couple of weeks ago, I had some questions regarding where people would go if they've already done all those 5 books and now they're looking to get into some more and more complex interiors. So this is a little bit outside of the beginners category and definitely more into the intermediate or advanced category. But here they are. I think it's a great idea. As I've said before, once you've got the hang of all those easier ones, it's great to just get going on some of the more complex interiors. That way you can, have more of a chance of setting yourself apart from what everyone else is doing. A lot of people take the lazy way and they just want to do something that's quick and easy. But the more and more effort you put into these things, the more and more you're creating something a little bit more sustainable that is going to ward off all of those people that just kind of want to get in on the action quickly. They're going to be deterred by the little bit of extra work. But for those of us who do put in that little bit of extra time and effort, it can be well worth it once we start to see those results. So let's jump right into it. So the first one I'm going to mention today is coloring books. Now, coloring books have been an absolute goldmine on the KDP platform over the last couple of years, with lots of people getting into it and making some really, really killer sales, specifically in the adult coloring book market, which has just exploded over the last couple of years. Now, for a lot of people starting out, doing a coloring book can seem extremely daunting. Most people, I think, just don't know where to start. Most of us aren't professional illustrators, so we're kind of left on the sidelines going, if I'm not able to create these illustrations myself, that means I'm going to have to outsource it. And that can be pretty expensive if you're trying to outsource a coloring book that's got, at the very least 20 pages in it. Now you're talking about outsourcing 20 different illustrations. That seems like it could be very expensive. But the truth is you can do this quite simply on your own without spending a dime and without actually having to draw. So the absolute simplest and quickest way to create your own coloring book from scratch is to visit your favorite stock website. And again, you can do this using just strictly free websites, or if you've got credits at a paid one, that's even better. And you want to be downloading vector illustrations that are either outline only, so it's just the outline of the character, whatever that is, with no fill, or you want to be able to download a vector illustration that has a solid outline and then a fill that you can then remove. Once you've downloaded that illustration, you can then open that up in a vector editing software. If you've got Illustrator, great. If not, there are actually quite a number of free online vector editing softwares available. And you're just going to open up that file and you are just going to remove the central portion of that so that you're left with nothing but the outline. And you're going to want to populate each page of your coloring book with just the outline of that character. So obviously you're going to want to look for a central theme for your coloring book. So it's really important when you're choosing those illustrations from the stock website that you're choosing illustrations that have a similar style. Or what I like to do is you can actually find files that will have multiple images in one file. So for example, I was doing one a few months back and I was able to find a file that had 20 different small characters on one file. I was able to download that, and because there were 20 different characters, that's 20 different pages in a coloring book. And I was able to manipulate each one of those images and then plop each one of them on its own page. Now, if you're doing this from a free website, that's a completely free way to do it, and it's not going to take you any more than a couple of hours. Now, I know this is a little bit of a simplified explanation, but don't worry, next week, I'm actually going to be showing you guys a tutorial on exactly how you can do this. So stay tuned for that. I think that's going to be a good one. So the second low content book idea is the children's activity book. And there are tons of different styles of these, everything from word searches to connect the dots to riddles, math help, reading help. Basically, these books are either meant to entertain or they're meant to teach and learn. Usually it's a combination of the two. And because there's so many different styles of these, you can do all sorts of variations. You could do one that's entirely word searches, or one that is entirely intended to help with reading or writing or math. Or you can do ones that combine a little bit of this and a little bit of that and just come up with sort of a well-rounded book offering all sorts of these different things, all based around a centralized theme. So when you're pursuing something like this, it's a good idea, again, and this goes across the board for all of these, you really want to focus on your initial research and try and find the gaps in the market. You don't want to create more of what's already out there. You want to try and find that unique spin. And this would be a great one to try and combine multiple niches and get something really unique that hasn't already been done. For example, instead of just creating a coloring book for kids that's just completely generic, what if you did something like a prehistoric reptile-themed coloring book? Or maybe you create a math and reading workbook for extremely gifted preschool-age girls. So those are just examples, but you get what I mean. You really want to kind of dig down as deep as you can go and just try and shine a light in any of those gaps that might exist. So the third style of low-content book is puzzle books. So just like children, adults also like to sit down for some entertainment with either word searches or crosswords or anything like that, Sudoku. I know my dad was a huge, huge Sudoku fan, to the point where my mom actually had to tell him that he needed to give it up because she was sick of him wasting literally entire days doing Sudoku. The great thing about puzzle books is that the people that consume these types of books, they are doing it at a very rapid rate. They're not just going to buy one and call it a day. They're going to buy one, and when that's done, they're going to buy another one, and so on and so on. And, come Christmas time, these make great gifts, stocking stuffers, things like that. So these books are never going out of style. They're always going to be in demand. So again, it's just up to you to find a new little twist on it and, come up with something unique. So the next idea is blank recipe books. Now, this one is a lot less labor intensive than the first three that I talked about. Basically, you're just going to create probably 1 or 2 or 3 different interior spreads, and then you're just going to repeat that throughout the entire book. There are a lot of blank recipe books up there, but again, it's up to you to just figure out a gap in the market. Is there somebody, some specific audience that hasn't been spoken directly to yet? And can that be you that goes in there and does that? And again, because there might be slightly less variation on what you can do in the interior of a blank recipe book, considering that recipe format is pretty much standardized across the board, because you're not going to be able to get too much variation in how that's formatted, then instead what you can do is just focus on style and theme. So maybe you could just focus on a particular cuisine, like maybe you decide to focus on something like French country cooking, or you could just focus on a particular holiday, so maybe it's Thanksgiving recipes, or you could decide to focus on a particular meal, like maybe it's just breakfast, or maybe it's summer cocktails. Maybe it's for people who don't really have a lot of time to cook. So again, it's just narrowing things down and just focusing on one particular target audience. Don't go generic on any of these. If you try to appeal to everyone, you're going to appeal to no one. So definitely just, really put that effort into figuring out who is that particular audience that no one is talking to, and then you be that person. So the last one I'm going to recommend are prompted journals. And this is another category that has really, really taken off over the past couple of years. There's so many different styles out there to choose from, so many different variations, everything from gratitude journals to one-line-a-day journals, memoir type ones, ones that are more focused on productivity. And again, I'm going to sound like a total broken record here, but the idea is to find that one group of people that no one is yet talking to. Even if you decide to go into one of the categories of prompted journals that may feel a little bit more saturated, for example, the gratitude journal, that is huge right now. There's tons out there. But is there some specific group that no one is talking to in the gratitude journal niche? So there you have it. Those are 5 more profitable low-content book ideas to try. Once you've got yourself familiarized with some of the easier ones, that we started off with that last post. And once you're feeling like your creative juices are flowing, you've got the hang of the process, and now you want to expand things, these are a few more that you can add to your book catalog. And as you might guess, these are going to be substantially more work than just your run-of-the-mill line journal. But if you can really do your research properly and find that target market that no one else is talking to, and then just really drill in there, this can be an opportunity for you to create something that really does end up taking off and bringing in many, many more sales from far fewer books. So for those of you who have just been focusing on creating volume and having that be your main approach, this is going to be a totally different approach for you. This is really about reining it back and not worrying about, publishing hundreds, if not thousands of low content books in as short a time as possible. This is really about getting that research down, uncovering those markets that nobody is talking to, focusing on creating a quality book that people actually want to buy, and creating less books. So if you want to see a few good examples of books that fall into these 5 categories, you can go over to my blog, which I've linked to in the description below, and that will just kind of summarize everything we've talked about here in written format and show you some examples of the different types of books I've been talking about. As always, if you're finding these videos useful and you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to do that. And for more tips, head on over to my blog at rachelharrisonson.com. And if you haven't already grabbed my free guide, 3 steps to publishing your first low content book in less than a day, then the link to that is below as well. All right, thanks guys. See you later.